Hello, everyone. Today is December 19th, and today we will discuss habit number 4, think, win, win. Fascinating habit, very useful in our life. I just want to that you would remind me. It would be nice if we will leave 5-10 minutes at the end of our conversation, and we will discuss some of the topics from our message board. I decided to move that to the end of our conversation in order to free the way and start right away with habit number 4, because we did a very thorough review last time. And let's start with some story. One time, Mr. Covey was working with the issue of the president of a big company who was very concerned about the lack of cooperation among his people. Our basic problem, Stephen, is that they are selfish, the president said. They just don't want to cooperate. Mr. Covey checked and found out that there was a real selfishness and unwillingness to cooperate, a resistance to authority, and even defensive communication. And Mr. Covey asked a profound question. What is the reward for not cooperating? When I read that, I thought, wow, I actually never asked this question. Would you like to think a little bit, and what is your opinion about this question? Did you think this way? It really can be what we are doing. Yes, Sean, go ahead.
There's no benefit from that. If you don't cooperate, you don't move towards the same goal. There's no mutual benefit. So I don't think there is a reward.
Okay. Who else? It's already a discussion. Yes, Richard?
Well, reward from not cooperating is sort of not exactly the way. It's mostly non-rewards or unbenefits or negative things. But if you were to think about what is really the reward, if there is anything from not cooperating, it would probably be a reward to the ego of someone, and probably that's about it.
Oh, good thought. Stephen?
Well, maybe there's a financial incentive. If it's kind of like if you beat someone else, that whoever is the top salesperson or whatever, they get the most money, and if so that would be a reason to not cooperate. You've created a competitive environment rather than cooperation, and maybe that's not what you want, but you've done that.
Stephen, what can I say? You nail it. You actually know a lot. I notice if you are answering exactly. So he's very, very right. So let's move ahead. Let's imagine that this is the president's office. You see on the wall the beautiful traveling poster of a beautiful sunset in a romantic couple sitting on the beach. Once a week, the president of this company would bring all his people into this office and talk. Guys, let's work all together. We will make more money. We can do it. And after he showed them this beautiful picture and would say, any one of you can win this trip to Bermuda. He wanted cooperation. He wanted his people to work together to share ideas. But he was setting them up for competition with each other. Just imagine one manager's success meant failure for other managers. Now we can see the meaning behind Mr. Covey's question. What's the reward for not cooperating? Trip to Bermuda was the reward for not cooperating, right? Thank you for all of your insight. It was great.
So you mean like being victorious?
Yes, yes. So one
Right.
success of one manager means failure for all other managers.
Right, but that's not necessarily win-win, though.
Oh, absolutely not. So we
Right.
are going toward
Right.
win-win. You're right, Sean. So the president
Right.
was trying to get the fruits of cooperation from a paradigm of competition. And when it didn't work, what he wanted? He wanted a quick fix antidote to make his people cooperate. And Mr. Covey is saying you can't change the fruit without changing the root. It's actually pretty deep statement. It's not exactly, I don't want to confuse you, it's not exactly related to the previous conversation. We are already moving ahead. Let's go to two groups and discuss. Do you want? Do you find it's interesting? So who would like to speak from group number one?
I'm not sure, but I think group one might have been me, Lisa, and Richard.
Yes.
Okay. I don't ever see a group one or a number on it, but we all decided or discussed change is very hard and the paradigm needs to change ultimately, which is the root of everything. And if we think better, we produce better results. And clearly the root is the paradigm and the thinking. And once we change that, then the fruit will change and we can gain better results.
Awesome.
So Richard described the steps to change. He said there's actually 3 steps, which are very good to know: the desire to change, the knowledge to change, and then the skill. So working on that to help get to the root or attack the root to produce better fruit.
So awesome. Great job. Hello, Patrick. We were discussing Mr. Covey quote, you cannot change the fruit without changing the root. So awesome job. Group number one, group number two.
I guess I'll go.
Go ahead.
It was about changing our habits and our routines if you want to have a different fruit, because if the root's the same habits, the same routines, then you kind of have the same fruit.
Mm-hmm.
You want to change the way you change your thinking so you can gain clarity on the root so you can change the fruit that you want. Things just aren't usually, sometimes we just kind of wait for things to happen and then they just don't. So we have to change our, the root of everything. That is a figure of speech, the root of the problem. So I guess Mr. Covey was onto something.
Great, guys. Was a wonderful discussion. Thank you for sharing. So, and let's go ahead. They not really copyrighting my computer. I don't know why. So it's okay. The most important that you would see. Do you see the screen well, right? Awesome. So let's look at 6 paradigms of human interaction. Mr. Covey is saying win-win is not a technique. I will repeat. Win-win is not a technique. It's a total philosophy of human interaction. And for our new people, can somebody say, what is paradigm? Who remember what is paradigm? Yes, Richard.
It's something that comes from either our experience or our interactions with other people, and we determine that things are a certain way, and we believe that, like like for example, if somebody cuts you off in traffic, your paradigm might quickly go to it was rude, it was done on purpose, and a completely different paradigm would be maybe that person has an emergency. So it's the way we see things that is the paradigm.
Yes, yes, you're completely correct. It's basically your value, your vision, your pattern. Yeah, your mental image. So you said everything correct. So, and Mr. Covey is offering us to look at 6 paradigms of human interaction. And first it's win-win, win-lose, lose-win, lose-lose, win, and win-win or no deal. And we will look at each one separately. It would be a fascinating journey. So let's look at win-win. Win-win is a mutual benefit. It's obvious, right? It's agreements, solution, mutual satisfaction. It's when all parties feel good, and it's cooperation, right? It's not a competition. However, let's look at pitfalls. Most people tend to think in terms of differences: strong or weak, smart or not smart, win or lose. But Mr. Covey is saying that this kind of thinking is fundamentally flawed. It's interesting because we used to think this way, right? But it's flawed, what he's saying. It's based on power and position rather than on principle. Do I have a volunteer to read, please?
I'll read it.
Do that.
Go ahead.
Okay. Win-win is based on the paradigm that there is plenty for everybody, that one person's success is not achieved at the expense or exclusion of the success of others. Win-win is a belief in the third alternative. It's not your way or my way, it's a better way, a higher way.
I'm serious. When I read it, maybe 20 years, when I was 20, 25 years old, I was actually surprised. I actually thought that I'm achiever, I'm a winner, and I thought it's good. And it's actually, let's clarify, it's not bad to win, but what he's saying, it's we don't need to achieve our winning at the expense or exclusion of success of others. Next paradigm, win-lose. It says, if I win, you lose. In the leadership style, win-lose is the authoritarian approach. I get my way, you don't get yours. Win-lose people are prone to use positions, power, credentials, and possessions. Or sometimes it's just personality to get their way, and it can be from childhood. Most people have been deeply scripted in the win-lose mentality since birth. Truth, it started in family, when one child is compared or loved more than another. Another powerful scripting agency is the peer group. A child first wants acceptance from his parents, and then from his peers, from friends. So this is very important. We need to understand, we need to prepare our children for life, right? And we all know how cruel peers sometimes can be. They sometimes can accept or reject totally on the basis of their conformity. The academic world reinforces win-lose scripting as well. When somebody gets an I because somebody gets C, it's comparing to everyone else. No recognition is given to intrinsic value. Everything is extrinsically defined. How do you understand it? But maybe we first clarify what is intrinsic value. Like a general definition. Yes, Patrick?
Well, basically, I mean, intrinsic value is what inside you, like a character, right? So that's a broad-based definition. Um, so in terms of, again, I think this is within American culture, and obviously that's been spread around the world. Things that are extrinsically defined as socioeconomic status, right? So that's I think the primary one. Everything else, feeds into that.
Yeah, very straight answer. You actually answer right away on two questions. So first, you define this as well. What is just in intrinsic value? It's the actual value of an asset, which is overly influenced by market conditions. So you said that. And then I wanted to ask, what is intrinsic value of a person? And you answer as well. So then can you read it? It's more from the other point of view. Go ahead.
Oh, you want me to?
Yes, can you read it?
Oh, yeah. So a person, what is intrinsic value of a person? A person carries a certain level of intrinsic value depending on the different roles and responsibility in a family unit, a man and a woman, in any special talent, any skill, people of good character, honest person, positive attitude, morality, learning ability, the level of achievement a person has attained in life, expertise in a certain field.
Thank you. Now, see, guys, what does it mean? No recognition, Mr. Covey is saying, is given to intrinsic value. Everyone is extrinsically defined. So we defined a person, how I posed before, strong, weak, smart, not smart. It's all external. But internal, it can be talent. For example, a person can be not smart in math, but he or she can have a special talent, some special skills. You know that the famous people, sometimes they have pure C or D at school, and they are completely like problem students. So we need to see inside what the person has. Any comments? Any opinions? Okay, I guess everything is clear. Another agent is law. We live in litigation society. The first thing many people, not all of us, of course, but many people think about when they get into trouble to suing someone, taking them to court, winning at someone else's expense. But defensive mind are neither creative nor cooperative. Certainly, Mr. Covey is saying, we need law or else society will deteriorate. It provides survival, but it doesn't create synergy. And he's mentioning that in recent trends is encouraging lawyers and law schools to focus on peaceful negotiation, the technique of win-win concept. This is interesting programming agent is athletics. In high school or colleges especially, often teens develop the basic paradigm from athletic games where some win and some lose. Winning means beating someone. So what's the problem with this programming agent? Looks like he's happy. Do you think it's a problem or you agree with it?
Well, somebody's going to lose if it's a competitive, not everybody's first place.
Right. Okay. Anybody else?
Also, Also, not everybody has put the work in.
Not
So-
everyone what?
Has put the work in to get the gold medal. Some people
Okay.
didn't get up early enough, didn't put the work in. So I think that the person who has done the work should get the gold.
That could be true, but you could also put in a lot of work and still just fall short. I mean, that could be why she's crying, because she could have really did everything that she could have done, and you still lost.
Yes, agreed.
You know,
but that's,
I-
I think.
But yeah, I
if
know
somebody's
what's
more
the thing.
talented, yeah.
No, you're right, but whoever goes to work more and works harder should be perceived as first in that case. Yeah, but in a competitive sense, that doesn't mean the person that's second didn't put in a lot of work.
Right.
Okay.
To
But
be
I
fair,
think
oh, go ahead.
but I think the world is kind of structured like that. There's one Einstein, there's not 50. So
Okay, guys, let's, if you want to say, raise your hand, then we won't interrupt each other, because I a little bit, maybe not everything understood, but we will come back to it. Richard, please.
So I think there's two important things about this athletic paradigm. That first, we need to learn how to both lose and win gracefully. And then the other is that in losing, there's a certain amount of learning regarding your abilities, learning from your mistakes, and then also learning to be persistent. There is, I believe there's some value to it, but it's certainly not win-win.
Yes, so thank you. Patrick, please.
Yeah, I mean, I hear what Sean is saying. I also hear what Liz is saying. So, but I think, we have to look at competition differently, right? Especially nowadays. I mean, I think instead of saying like, looking at, there's a clear winner and clear loser from a perspective of comparing the two different extrinsic individuals, right? You have to basically look at internally. It's like, hey, if I did my best, right, that's my walk away, right? The prize, the non-prize, right? It just, happened to be a coincidence, So whereas someone who is basically externally competitive, right, say, okay, I'm gonna beat my opponent, and that's all I care about. The issue there is that, sooner or later, right, you're gonna be the person on the other side that you're being beaten, and that won't feel, and without any type of defensive mechanism in play or understanding, right, that's gonna basically be a unhealthy downward spiral for the individual. So that's why I say you have to look at competition in a different way, and it happens, and I think it happens a lot more in Western culture than Eastern culture. So I think it's a paradigm. Again, it's a paradigm or mindset.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, everyone. Everyone who was saying at some point was right. And what I want to add to that paradigm, what I think that Mr. Covey was saying, that in order to win, you need to beat someone. This is the problem in this paradigm. So if you need to win, we are happy to win and we will win, but we need to put in our life this paradigm of athletic or from core that if I win, somebody should lose. What this is this paradigm needs to be removed from us. And Mr. Covey is saying that most of life is not a competition. I will repeat again, most of life is not a competition. We don't have to live each day competing with the spouse with children, with coworkers, neighbors, and we do. We do, my neighbor, or I dressed up better, or I have that car, my neighbor doesn't have that car. Do you see how, even with spouse, we can do, I'm doing this better, you're doing this worse. If I'm better, he should be worse than me. Oh, so question like this, who is winning in your marriage? It's a ridiculous question. We need to be cooperative, right? Is most of life a dependent, independent, or interdependent reality? Guys, I would like you to discuss. I think it's a fantastic question. Let's do it. 5 minutes. So, and again, read again or make a question, make a screenshot or photo. I will repeat. Is most of life a dependent, independent, or interdependent reality? Well, guys, what did you decide? Group number 1?
We were group number 1, Stephen. Yep.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, we debated it and we didn't really come to a conclusion. You know, I think in most of America you have, you know, most of America is rugged individualist, and you're expected to do it on your own. And
Okay.
you know that cooperation is kind of limited. Do we live in an interdependent reality? And it's kind of 50-50. There is, you know, there are, you know, we highlight the cooperative events, but I think a lot, America's a lot rugged. It's mostly rugged individualist. That's what I'm seeing. And I don't know what the other members of my group, you know, what you think about that. Is that, you know, we talked about Wall Street, which is, you know, they get together in groups, but the groups compete against each other. You know, and there's that, you know, Patrick said he thought that as being, that's dependence. And Wall Street is very much about external approval. It's, you know, I got the Maserati and, you know, I got the house in the Hamptons, you know, it's that kind of thing.
I see your point. Okay, thank you. Group number 2. Hello.
Yeah, you ready?
Yes, Shan.
We decided that life by nature is highly interdependent. That to achieve maximum effectiveness through independence is like trying to play tennis with a golf club. You know, it's not suitable for reality. We still need others to interact and kind of help us get us there. You know, we kind of went into where maybe team sports were better than individual sports. And I had a conflict with it because I was better at individual sports. So I didn't like that idea because I like being more dependent or independent. Then I came to the conclusion that for you to be independent like that, you still needed somebody to help you do that. You know, like Mike Tyson went out there and he knocked them out in 30 seconds, 1-on-1. So he was independent. However, he had somebody to spar with, which means he was dependent on his coach, his sparring partners, his teammates. So it all kind of intertwines. You know, I guess we all kind of have to have somebody have our back, so to speak.
Bingo.
You know?
Great answer, Shan. Thank you. Patrick?
Yeah, I actually like Sean's comment because if you look at nature, right, you look at the cosmos, right, whatever, right, you look, you know, it's, you know, it's very diverse, right? But that diversity is linked. We're linked to each other in some manner for us to basically survive and thrive, you know, because you think about it, it's like something as simple as breathing, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can't just be breathing in and never breathe out, right? You know, the whole system, the whole universal system require us to basically cooperate. So then my question is like, why do we has humanity think that we can do everything ourselves, like what Steven said, right? That whole idea of like rugged individualism, which is good when you are oppressed. But however, how do you basically have the paradigm or mindset where you basically go from, okay, I'm a baby, I'm dependent, okay, I learned some things because now I learned to be independent. Now how do I basically plug into a bigger community to help the community flourish so that it helped me flourish, so.
Yes, Patrick, thank you. Great adding. Where Stephen were right, he was looking, or your group was looking for quality. And yes, quality, we are individualists, so you're completely correct in it. However, how Sean and Patrick said that most of life is interdependent and not independent. We depend from everyone around. Even if we behave like we independent, we cannot survive even if we will be independent. So most results we want depend on cooperation between you and others. So, and about Patrick, what you said, why is it happening? I just can tell my opinion that you started to say baby, and then we become a teenager and we grow. But if we will look at humanity in general, our humanity is a baby. Remember, we were talking about it, that plants, animals, and actually we are, as not community, as a basic, like animals, we were here and evolved for billions of years. And when we got our consciousness, 6,000 years ago, what is this if compare billions of evolving years? It's nothing, and we're already going very fast, actually, toward the interdependent reality. Remember, we were talking about public execution. We don't have it anymore. Why? Because it's just prohibited. Why is it prohibited? Simply because it's we are going toward better life. We are going toward emotional intelligence. We don't have slaves. We even can't imagine how can we go and buy a slave, right? So this is progress, but it cannot go fast. So we need to be patient. Unfortunately, the beautiful future we might won't see because the beautiful future will probably come in not even thousands, or maybe more and more, many thousands years. But if we won't kill ourselves, I'm sorry, with our technological progress, how Eckhart Tolle said that our technological progress is going faster than our emotional intelligence. And this is the danger. Just understand, we are very technologically advanced, but our emotional intelligence is far behind, and the danger is happening. So, and our main thing is to raise human consciousness. This is our main and the most important thing in the world right now. And so, thank you everyone. I enjoy it. Let me share. So, and Mr. Covey added that the win-lose mentality is dysfunctional in total cooperation. So we need to look for some different mentality. Let's look at different, this we already went through. Let's go to lose-win paradigm. Some people are programmed the other way, lose-win. It's basically saying, I lose, you win. I'm a peacemaker. I'll do anything to keep peace. What do you think about this paradigm? Doesn't is it maybe being humble? Maybe it's being spiritual. What do you think, Patrick?
Well, I mean, when I was younger, when I say when I was younger, I mean in my early 20s when I'm still learning things, right? That is something that I adopt. I was like, well, I don't know. It's like, oh, I don't know enough about something, so I'm gonna basically defer to you type thing, even though I have an opinion, right? So, but then I come to realize that this type of paradigm, right, is very it limits your growth, your personal growth, because the minute you start saying like, oh, I don't know, right, you kind of, for me anyway, you go into a passive state. So therefore, you're basically, at least for me, like you're following someone else's opinion without validating whether or not it's correct. So even though someone say, "Oh yeah, I'm a peacemaker," but what are you a peacemaker of, right? So if someone has throws a hissy fit or a tantrum, you're like, "Oh yeah, I'm a peacemaker. I'm gonna give you what you want," right? And sacrifice, my personal ethics, right? Or even break the rules, right? Worse, right? Commit a crime and break the rules. That's even worse, right? So the end game there is basically it doesn't put you in a better position. But at least for me, right, the genesis of adapting a lose-win situation is like, oh, I don't think I know enough, that's the at least for me it was the problem.
Thank you, Patrick. I agree with you. I just wanted to say that we can learn from someone. For example, if we don't know something. So this is, I don't think so. This is lose-win mentality. But next you clarified, you said that you can learn, but then you need to check. Do you want to follow or not? Am I correct? Do I understand you correctly? Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Nicole, please.
I was just going to say that I could really relate to the lose-win also. I was the second child, so my brother was older and always getting in trouble, so I was the peacemaker, so to speak. And then becoming an adult, having kids, everything's my fault. It's mom's fault. If you women can all agree with me, we take the brunt of everything. Everything is our fault. And I think I have succumbed to just accepting that to lessen, I don't know, like I know better, but I don't need to be above them or showcase it. Maybe I'm not getting it across well enough, but I have learned to grow out of lose win. But for years it was to keep things, what's the word? To be a peacemaker, to keep things from getting out of hand and compromising.
Oh, that's thank you very much for sharing. And it's exactly you're at the right place. What we are going through everything, we will figure out what we did, who we were, and make changes. And those changes will be good not only for us, but even for the other people who, especially close one. Because when we are taking responsibility only on ourselves, I mean responsibility for all problems. So, okay, this is my fault. I'm responsible. The problem that the other people think that it's correct, and they not thankful to that person who is taking everything on himself or herself. They actually become even angry and upset, and they put it's your fault. They become to believe in it. So yes, this is not the best idea to do that. Thank you very much, Nicole, for sharing. Liz, please.
Well, I used to do the win lose or I'd lose so somebody else would win, but and I was truly a peacemaker. But I have learned that where we're not peacemaking. When we do that, we are peacekeeping. And you can't keep peace unless there was peace there in the first place. And in order to make peace, sometimes you have to have war to make peace. So I have given up on it in that I'm not trying to point at myself as a guilty party anymore. I look at it and say, can I make peace? Because sometimes you have to have the hard conversation to have peace.
Yes.
So we have to stop keeping the peace and start putting in the work to make the peace.
Make it beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much. Yes, guys, and so it's, of course, it's not about being spiritual or about humble. You know, being spiritual and humble, it's actually you need to be brave for it. So win-lose, actually, Kobe is saying, is worse than win-lose because it has no standards, no demands, no expectations, and no vision. And the people lose-win mentality, they actually have very little courage to express their own feelings. And sometimes even strong people can go for this mentality, and it's happened when they, according their beliefs, they believe they are strong, powerful people, but they are going for lose-win mentality because they think it's the right thing to do in this particular situation, and then in another particular situation. So, and a big problem is happening that lose-win people bury a lot of feelings. And those buried feelings, unfortunately, never die. And what is happening? Psychosomatic illnesses, particularly of respiratory, nervous, and circulatory systems, often are the reincarnation of cumulative resentment, deep disappointment, anger, overreaction, and other suppressed emotions. So we cannot lie to our body. If we see that it's wrong, but we are going, no, I'm a peacemaker, I need to do it, and we are doing that, we cannot lie to our body. We still feel deep disappointment. So stop doing that. I like what Liz said, that we need to make peace, not to keep peace. Beautifully said. Both win-lose and lose-win are weak positions based in personal insecurities. So both. Well, this is very interesting. Lose-lose. Do you know any people with lose-lose personality? It's a tricky question. I want to warn you right away. Who they are? Lose-lose mentality. Patrick?
Well, I think it's lose-lose is basically anybody that is, you know, in the lower spectrum in terms of the emotional level, right? Emotional maturity level, right? So, and also and you know, the idea that going back to habit one, the mindset or the paradigm shift is like, oh, you know, this is happening to me, so I'm going to react, right? And so, and a lot of time that reaction costs a lot more, right, than the gain. So it becomes a lose-lose situation.
Yes, I would answer absolutely the same like you answer. Why I said that it's a tricky question, because when two, but you said everything right, Patrick. When two win-lose people get together, I will repeat again. When two win-lose people get together, both stubborn and ego invested individuals, the result will be lose-lose. Both lose. Mr. Covey described a situation, probably a very famous situation. You remember when a judge directed to a husband to sell the assets and they turn over half the proceeds to his ex-wife. So he sold a car worth over $10,000 and he sold it for $50. And the turn gave his wife 25. So lose-lose. Two win-lose person. The next common alternative to win-win is just simply win. People with win mentality don't necessarily want someone else to lose. That's simply just irrelevant to them. What matters is that they get what they want. It's a mentality of securing his own ends and leaving to the other secure their ends. And the last paradigm is win-win or no deal. So if these individuals had not come up with a synergetic solution, one was agreed to both, they could go for no deal solution. No deal basically means that if we can't find a solution that would benefit us both, we agree to disagree agreeably. No deal, no expectations had been created, no performance established. With no deal as an option, you can be liberated. However, it's difficult to think that anybody would be satisfied, right? If we went on the way very far and then just give up. So Mr. Covey is saying that we need to work for win-win and really hammer it out. This caught my attention, hammer it out. A question, does hammer out approach relate only to win-win situation? Or we can hammer out something else in our lives? And Patrick, I will ask you, what did you want to say?
Well, in terms of the win-win no deal, based on my personal experience, and again, this is more in a business setting, is that, if you have in advance certain benchmarks, right, or certain markers that you kind of like look at, right, and if those markers are not hit, right, then you could basically reasonably to say like, hey, you know what, within the we've been working at this for 3 months and we only gotten to this where we both agree that it would be a little farther. So how about we take a break from it and revisit it sometime in the future. So that type of upfront agreement would make it more pleasant when you walk away. But in terms of hammering out things, it all depends, right? Because the hammering out thing require deep understanding what the other person's what the other person really want that's beneficial to them, and also what you really want that's beneficial to you, providing those things have not changed. Because in real life, or at least happens to me anyway, things change. Like at time zero, we agree on this, and then at time present, right, it had changed, and then no one has and those changes have not been clearly communicated, and that basically makes the hammering out a lot more challenging.
Very good answer. Very good, Edin. Thank you. I like your what you mentioned that it depends. So Mr. Covey was saying many times we cannot find one solution for every problems. Then what I agree with you that no deal it's mostly appropriate for work situation. Then I also want to highlight that no deal is better to do at the beginning of the deal, not at the end of the deal. Also, he was mentioning that some people go on year and year and years making some agreements. It's also not appropriate. Please, we need to time appropriate time for everything. And I already finished because I started that for family situation, it's a better compromise than no deal. Yes, Richard, please.
Yeah, I was wondering why the win-win is on there twice with no deal, but then I just realized that with win-win or no deal, it's two choices.
Mhm.
A win-lose or lose-win situation is not acceptable in that under that choice. So it either has to be win-win or we have to walk away or
Right.
decide some other time.
Yes, thank you. But what is about that hammering it out? So yes, Mr. Covey pointed to win-win or no deal, and of course win-win is better than no deal, and so he's mentioning let it hammer out win-win, right? But what if we will bring this hammering out in our other life? Can we use it, or it's completely inappropriate? Patrick?
Well, I think hammering out is actually part of the process of creating win-win or even creating compromise, right? Because if you are at least for me personally, like I'm more than willing to hammer an issue out with somebody if I value the relationship, if I value, if I know I could basically provide something, a benefit to the other party, and I know, and for whatever reason I'm not getting what I want from it, right? Then I'm more than happy to basically hammer out things and not so much of giving up, or shift to a losing position, more of like, okay, what can we do to basically, help each other out to be better, right? In a personal relationship aspect. Whereas in a business relationship, hammering out would be like, well, you know what? I could capture additional value in the future of the relationship, right? So those type of hammering out, basically using time as an asset. So those are the different types of, so hammering out it's an umbrella term, right? It could mean many things, but what it does mean is basically, cooperating and working together to come up with a strategy and series of tactics to basically create win-win at the end point.
Yes, very, very great answer. Thank you. So I just make an example. It takes the hammer of persistence to drive the nail of success. And why I pointed on it, I noticed that we can take different approaches. For example, everyone knows that to reach success in business, we need persistence, right? And we need to really hammer our success. But sometimes, and actually very often, we are shy to do it in our personal life. I will give example from I was talking to younger people, and guys actually even shy to approach. They, for example, offered a woman to go on a date, for example, and A girl shy to say yes or no, and they decide that it's no, and they refuse right away. They go to, they upset, but they don't do anything to pursue a woman. So what I want to say that everything in life, if, for example, we like something, we need to pursue it until we think, yes, we did all our best. Now we see that it doesn't work. So it works for everything, for relationship, for communication, for even in when we are in marriage. For example, somebody's upset, and the other person come and say, "Is something going on?" And the person who's upset, no. And we turn right away and go away. We think that we ask once and it's enough. It doesn't mean that we need to come and knock on the head to that person, but just be more sure. Are you sure, dear, that everything is right? At least ask the second time. So what I want to say that take this business approach to extend a little bit to our personal life. But of course, we need to see the limit, but we already, I think, pretty educated enough. So we went through all 6 paradigms, and this is a question, which option is the best? Mr. Covey is asking. And there was already multiple answers on this, but I want to point exactly to this this question. Which option is the best?
Probably the win-win or no deal.
Okay. Okay, Sean. Who else?
I'll vote for win-win or no deal.
Okay. Nicole?
Well, we discussed earlier, win-win always to work interdependently with each other.
Okay. Liz?
I agree with Nicole. I think win-win if, working with other people to get what everybody wants or to put something out so that nobody walks away empty-handed.
Okay, I especially guys said that it's already was the answer in our discussion. So while everybody said her opinion. Okay, so while you are all correct, the correct answer will be it depends. It's what actually Patrick was saying. So we need to be flexible, guys. We cannot use a win-win situation in all situations. Sometimes, actually, it's even impossible. And maybe a little bit later, yes, Richard. What do you want to say?
Yes, I was thinking about the win-win as a great choice for everything, but yeah, there's some situations where it's definitely impossible. I think in a sense, we're talking about 2 people discussing a subject and trying to come to a conclusion, but we're assuming that the 2 people have a common interest and are emotionally and mentally stable. So there's some situations where no deal is probably the only option on the table.
Yes, thank you, Richard. So yeah, basically, you can hammer a win-win situation practically only with people who are at least in independent level. It's impossible to make a deal win-win with a person who deeply scripted in the dependent level of maturity. And then what to do? So yes, we need to be flexible. Patrick was saying we need to be flexible. This was actually the answer for this question, what option is the best? It depends. And we need to judge the situation ourselves. And there is some, of course, it's some extreme situation Mr. Covey offered, but just to get a picture. For example, in a valuable relationship, you may want to go for lose-win. Lose-win. It's like you're simply saying to the other person, what I want isn't important to me as my relationship with you. Or sometimes you have to win when you close one in danger. So again, the best choice then depends on reality. And our role is to need to read that reality accurately. But again, what Mr. Covey offered example, it's mostly like exclusive situation, just to get the picture. And this we already discussed with you, that most situations are part of interdependent reality with a win-win situation. And this we discussed. Win-lose is not viable, because if I won, your attitude toward me and our relationship have been affected, right? Interesting, Mr. Covey described a situation. He's saying that one time he was working with a client, and it was the president of a large chain of retail stores. And he said, Stephen, your win-win idea is sound really good, but it's so idealistic. The tough, realistic business world isn't like that. Does anyone agree with this opinion? With that opinion?
Definitely.
Okay, Sean. All right. Covey said, try going for win-lose with your customers. Is that realistic? What do you think? Let's go. Try to go for win-lose with your customers. Patrick?
Well, I mean, I think we have to go back to the first principle, right? Why does a business exist to begin with, right? You know, the whole point of a business, right, that exists is to make a customer happy, right?
Yeah.
So a win-lose situation, by definition, you're not making a customer happy. So therefore, if you don't have any customers, you're not gonna, you don't have a business, right? That's what it comes down to. The idea of, again, go to, in terms of the president of the retail, with the mindset of like, competitive mindset, right, is what it comes down to. It just, again, I think it's how we are brought up. It's the environment that that we operate in. So we need to basically change those things. So basically, in order to change the mindset of having a win-win mindset. I mean, it's happening, right? So there's a movement right now called the conscious capitalism, right? What it does is basically doing a triple win, meaning like win for the customer, win for the planet, and also win for stakeholders, right?
Awesome.
So all the shareholders. So it's like 10 years old, and it actually started by one of the key founder was the president or the CEO or the owner of Whole Foods Market out of Austin, Texas. So I'm only saying this because there are times to be competitive, right? But to be competitive is not to basically to destroy value, to be competitive to create value, meaning that what else, the question is like, what else can I do to create more value for my customer? Just like, what else can I do to create more value for my family? So it translates well, but it's really about the mindset.
Oh, so awesome. Thank you, Patrick. Especially I like that it's not only win for yourself and for customers, but for the planet as well. Yes, finally, we are going to the change. Very soon it would be absolutely normal for everyone think not only about ourselves and business, also about our planet. Thank you, beautifully. I completely agree with you. So if that president will go for win-lose, he simply will lose his customers. Then Mr. Covey is saying, okay, then go for lose-win and give the store away. So there's so win-lose doesn't work, lose-win doesn't work, lose-lose of course not an option for him, win also doesn't work, no deal also doesn't work. So only viable situation, it's only win-win. So and realistic only win-win, right? However, to stay in the position of win-win, you need to have courage. Why do you need to have courage? Patrick?
Well, I mean, you need courage to basically find solutions, right? You need courage to communicate, to truly courage to basically be vulnerable and also be curious, right? Meaning like you have to know what the other person wants, and you have to basically ping them continuously to make sure that you're on track with what they want, right? And you also have to you also have the courage to communicate what you want, and if you have changes, you also need to communicate that. And I in my, well, sometime, right, I fear, right, of communicating the change. It's like, oh, what if they don't like it, right? And and the thing is, then I flip my switch. Well, actually, I would be doing them a disservice if I don't communicate my changes, right? Because then they're using resources, right, time and energy on things that they think I want, when actually that's no longer the case. So that's unethical, right, from my perspective, if I don't communicate the changes right away.
Yes.
So it takes courage to do that.
Absolutely, I totally agree. Sometimes you need to, but everything what you said, beautifully said. You need to have courage to say the truth. You need to have courage to communicate, how you said. You need to have courage to not just follow your emotions, lead the conversation. You need to watch what the other person wants and fulfill his desire, not only your desire. Because if you will fulfill only your desire, you won't go for win-win. Yes, and this is what I wanted to discuss. So there was a question: we cannot be accepted until we are accepting. What do you think? If the author of this post want to clarify more, and then we will ask the other people what they think. And this was just one answer. Maybe I shouldn't put it right away, but I already did it. Sorry for that. So let's discuss this, and please tell your opinion. For today, we finished everything but I planned. Good for us. And now if, for example, guys, someone need to go, the meeting is closed. And if you would like, please stay 5-10 minutes. We will discuss this.
Okay, well, I can start by somewhat explaining, because I guess the simplistic nature of the comment maybe left some areas for interpretation. And so what I meant was that society as a whole, or people as a whole, as humanity, maybe starting from us as children, wanting to be accepted by our parents, continue that theme on into adulthood, and wanting to be accepted on many different levels, and variables like appearance, intelligence, economic status, even thoughts that we may have. We want to be accepted. And we may look to be accepted, and when we're not, it can create some negative feelings within us. But I was thinking that accepting or wanting to be accepted is sort of centering on yourself, or centering on others, as opposed to centering on principles. And if we centered on principles, we would be more thinking about being accepting of others rather than wanting others to accept us. But I feel that at some point, in a natural sense, once you project this sense of accepting others, that acceptance will come naturally to you. So that's a little bit longer version of that comment.
That's fine.
But, I am completely in agreement with Patrick's response.
Okay, Patrick, do you want to say something?
Well, you know what? I'm gonna basically steelman your case here, Richard. So, the thing is, now that I'm hearing what you're saying, I would agree with you if you're talking about self-acceptance, right? Meaning like, okay, I accept myself, right? Regardless of what's going on out there, right? So if each one of us, it basically, if you multiply that, right? If each one of us accept ourselves implicitly, right? We will be accepting of others, because if we believe that we mimic each other, right? So from a social connection point of view, but that's an idealistic state, right? That's like what Lena said before, right? Humanity's still a baby, right? We're not at even a teenager, we're not even like duking it out yet, right? So on a humanity level, so from a practicality perspective, right? So therefore, we need to, yes, we definitely need to be proactive and be accepting, right? However, we should not expect that that action to be mirrored, because we don't know, right, what the other party's emotional maturity level is, right? Because the thing is, if they have a higher emotional level, they would have accepted you already. You know what I mean? So it would have been basically it. So then you would be a reaction to like, oh, they're accepting me, so I'm accepting them, right? So it's that interplay. But I just think, like, from a conservative perspective, right? Assume knowing or not knowing, but experiencing reality as is, right? We can't count on other people accepting us. Just like I said, right? I have people complain to me about like, oh yeah, I'm 50 and I got, diabetes, I got this, like, well, but while they're eating a donut, I'm like, dude, seriously, what are you doing? But again, now I'm like, hey, it's your choice. It's like, I respect your choice, but it is what it is.
Yes, exactly. I was smiling at your post when you wrote about that, and I actually completely agree with you. Anybody wants to say, is any other opinions? Yes, Stefan.
What do you mean by you accepting? You mean that I'm not sure what you mean by that. Is that
Richard, do you want to
Okay.
explain?
Yeah, accepting when other things are external to you and whether they be challenging to you or not, you're willing to accept. Like for example, even in listening to someone who's giving their opinion and their opinion doesn't match with yours, you can accept that they have their opinion. You don't have to necessarily agree, but you can be accepting. And there are many other things, as I said, that people want to be accepted on. We all have the need to be accepted, I guess.
So it's seek first to understand, then to be understood.
Mhm.
Is that right? Is that what you?
Very
Is-
similar, yes.
Yeah. So I would say not everyone is, just you can show that you are willing to be accepting, but not everyone will accept. Not everyone's going to be you can it increases the like if you seek to understand others, it's more likely that they will seek to understand you, but that's not guaranteed.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, when I read that, I actually, this question, I understood exactly the same as Patrick answered. And when I asked Richard to a little bit and listened right now to clarify, I understood what you, Richard, meant, and actually both of you are correct. But what you explained and what Patrick, even what you wrote, you understood how I understood your question. Not exactly, but now we see that you meant a little bit different.
So here's the thing, right? This is like a prime example of why human relationship and human communication is so complicated, right?
Thank you, Patrick.
This is like, and basically we got, and all of us have no skin in the game, right? Meaning like, oh, if someone insults me on this forum, I'm like, oh, so what? It's different, right? So just imagine like if we have skin in the game, right? In terms of the communication, imagine how like crazy, how complicated it would be, right? So that's why I always, when in forums like that, I was like, I always tell folks like, human relationships are not as easy as people, that popular media or whatever, claim that it is, because it isn't, because we don't know what the other person's going through. The other person doesn't know what we're going through, and sometimes, most of the time, we don't even know what we're going through, because of the level of awareness, because our level of awareness changes, right? Not only throughout the day, but through stages of our lives and through different types of experience as well. So there's a compounding effect all the way through, which is why, the 7 Habits to me is so effective, is because it gives you a framework to work with.
Yes.
So
Yes, yeah, thank you, Patrick. Clear communication is the key. And Mr. Covey was saying that it's the major problem in families, in the business. For example, if we are not clear and we think that we are saying, the agreement can be, the business can actually completely ruin, or you have an agreement and you expect one thing, the other expect the other thing, and you don't go into that agreement. So in family, and I also offered one example that we can sometimes argue for hours with my husband, and at least at the end we understand that we are talking about something the same, only from different perspectives. So what is the solution? At least understand that we don't know what the other person understand when we said something. So make a goal to speak clear, and our steps to listening maturity. Just ask again and clarify, is it correct? Am I correct? Do I correctly understood you? Did I correctly understand you? So just double check. It will solve many problems.
Yeah, I mean, something like Stephen has done, right? So, well, what do you mean by, the statement like we need to be accepting, right? Something as simple as, so here's the thing, right? Something as simple as that, right? It's a question, but to a lesser emotionally mature person, they might find it offending because like, dude, how dare you ask me that question? Don't you know? What's wrong with you? Right? You know what I mean? So it's really, it depends, that's why I said that human beings are beautiful but complicated, so.
Yes, thank you guys. We are done for today. I tremendously enjoyed our conversation, and I look forward to see you next Monday at 7 p.m. Have a wonderful week.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Thank you.
It's
Happy New Year.
Mary, it's already will be today's 19th. Yes.
Sunday is Christmas.
Yes. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Good night, all.
Bye.
Great week.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Lena, I have a mission statement in the works. How do I get us to go over that?
Oh, wonderful. Will it be ready next week?
Yes.
Perfect. Would you like me, if you will send it to me, I will post it on a PowerPoint and we will discuss.
Okay, so if I send it to you
Can you send it me on WhatsApp personally?
on WhatsApp?
Yeah.
Send on WhatsApp. Okay, thank you.
My pleasure. Look forward to.
Good
Bye-bye.
night.